Hola friends, welcome to another episode of Makeup with Elle. If this is your first time on my channel, my name is Jahaira. Today we are doing a very Dia de los Muertos inspired look. I really enjoy this season and I really love the colors that are inspired by Dia de los Muertos. I also absolutely adored the movie Coco. I watched it 100 times. And so I wanted to do a look that was inspired by these beautiful, amazing looking ears. Me and the hubby went to Disney World a couple months back and these were the ears that I was dying for. I love that it has like purple as like a base color with the little bow as purple. Purple is my absolute favorite color, but I also love the oranges and the yellows that are kind of put into it and just bring that whole like theme to life. And so these ears and this time of the year actually super inspired me to do this look. If you like this look and you want to see how I got here, continue watching. To start off my eye look, I'm going to use the Paint Pot because I'm going to be using nice and bright colors on my eyes. I want a nice soft base. It's a little bit lighter than my skin tone, so it's going to create some nice evenness to my eye. As I've mentioned before on my channel, I have hyperpigmentation over my eyes, so I want to even that out. And I'm going to be pretty generous with this. I'm going to take this all the way up to my eyebrow. I'm going to take a dry blender, just a little tiny one, and I'm going to pat that in so it's nice and smooth. So I'll put it on with the brush and then tap that in with my blender. I'm going to do the same on the other side. And now I have a nice smooth canvas to work with, so I have a one color lid. I can now move on to adding in all of my shadows. I noticed that using a dry blender works really well because when it's wet, it kind of adds moisture into the eye and it won't set as well. That way, when I open my eye and then close it back up, you see those lines in there if I am using a wet blender. So nice and dry blender works perfectly fine. I'm going to be using 3 different palettes for this look. The first is the Yes Please palette from Colourpop, then the Disney Designer Collection from Colourpop as well, and then my favorite palette of all time, which I try to use as much as possible, the Urban Decay Game of Thrones palette. Using the Yes Please palette first, I'm going to dig into the full zip right in the corner. It's the lightest shade in the palette, but essentially what I'm doing with this color is I am placing it over the Paint Pot that I just put down. This is going to set my eyelid and allow for those colors to blend in perfectly together. So I'm just doing tapping motions, and then at the very end of my tapping motions, I'm going to do a nice swipe. That way everything that's going to fall off of my eyelid falls out while I'm swiping it versus while I'm placing another color on top. So it doesn't look too much like a different color. If anything, it lights it up just a tiny bit more than that Paint Pot did. But what I want to do is create that nice, smooth, blendable canvas. On my channel, you'll notice that I use eyeshadows on my eyes and I move horizontal versus vertical. And the reason why I do that is because I have hooded eyes. So when I open my eye, basically what you're seeing is my eyelid gets covered with the rest of my eye. And so I have more space right above my crease than I do below it. So when I'm placing my shadow on my eye, I want it to be visible. And I do place it right above my crease, working horizontal versus vertical up on my eye. We are going to start with our darkest colors first. And that means that we start with black. I'm excited. The first color I'm going to work with is a color I've never used before. So I'm a little bit excited and a little bit nervous, called Take the Black up here on the Urban Decay palette. And I'm doing this because I want to lay down that darker color and work into the nice bright colors right in here. And because we're doing a Dia de los Muertos look, it has a huge mixture of that dark color versus that really bright, almost neon color. So I want to get all of that in this one eye look together. My first impression of this black color is that it's super pretty. It's not crazy dark and pigmented, meaning that it's pretty forgiving on the eye. Like I could blend this out, but I want this to be nice and dark. So I just tapped a little bit onto the corner of my eye and now I'm just going to blend it out and it's going to turn into like this almost smoky gray. So you dot the amount of pigment that you want and then blend it out up to where I want it. And so what I'm doing is I'm using different motions to kind of just get this outer V smoked out just a little bit until I'm happy with the shape that I make on the outer corner of my eye. So I'm just going to keep doing that. I'm going to do the same thing on the other eye. If you are the kind of person that struggles with getting both eyes to look exactly the same, I hear ya. I am the same way. So what I'm doing is I am trying to fix the eyeshadow to make them match. And the best way that I can do that is actually following that natural arch of this brow bone that's kind of right in here. But also my eyebrow itself too. I just kind of follow that shape of the eyebrow. And that's how I get them to look as similar or as close to each other as I possibly can. Next, we're gonna move into a shimmery purple shade. Also in the Urban Decay palette, we're gonna use Stormborn right down here. What I absolutely love about these glitters is that they are super pigmented. And it just kind of, you have to work with them, but it just kind of shines like, literally like a diamond. Like, I love how they look on the eye. They're super pigmented. You can use them with either a brush or with your finger. So because I want a little bit more color, I'm just using my finger to kind of fill that in. And I'm going to take this all the way back past where I put the black on my eye, because I want that black to be there, but I want the color purple to actually stand out a little bit more than that black does. So I'm going to kind of use a mixture of my finger and the brush to get the exact look that I'm kind of looking for here. And I'm going for the same purple as kind of my ears, but just a shinier version. The black shade that I put underneath this too kind of highlights that purple a little bit more, kind of gives it that like blended look. So that was kind of what I was going for. Versus putting like a concealer and doing a cut crease, I want it to kind of look dark and ominous almost. And so we'll add a little bit more purple afterwards, but I really like the way this looks. And I'm kind of digging the application of this glitter more when I use my finger than when I use my brush, but both work. And I'm taking that a little bit more further in than halfway, just because I want that purple to be the most prominent color on my eye. The other colors are going to match super perfectly with it just because it's a theme, but I want that purple to really show. In the Yes Please palette, I'm going to dig into Big Cocktails and Champs together. The Big Cocktails color is actually a little bit too orange for me right now, so I'm digging into both to kind of get that mixture. And I'm going to place that in the front of my eye, blending that right into that purple color. And this is going to be the base for the shimmery shade that I place on top of it. But basically I want that orange to really pop. So I'm going to tap that in, and then I'm going to kind of just brush right over it so everything kind of lays flat on my eye. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. This is creating a base for the shimmery orange that I'm going to place on here. And it looks weird right now because it's a matte and then a shimmer, but I'm going to place a shimmer shade, so it's going to all come together. Next, back into the Urban Decay palette, I'm going to use Red Keep. It's this orangey, almost red glitter shade. And I'm going to place that right above the orange color I just placed. And it turns into this really bright, really pretty orange. I've gone ahead and placed it on with my finger, but I'm going to use a brush and do the same thing, just kind of tap into that color, just to clean it up and to get places that my finger didn't necessarily reach. Because I have longer nails, it just kind of happens to me sometimes, so I'm going to take this brush and I'm just going to clean up and line up everything that I want. And make sure all of the areas that I want to be orange turns orange. From immediately looking at me, this eye is cooperating pretty well with me, this eye is not. So I'm going to clean that up really quickly. Just pulling off some of that excess, but going back into that original dark shade called Take Me Back, I'm going to go back into the darker cut black and I'm going to bring it forward. I only placed a tiny bit onto my brush this time, so I'm really working with the black that's kind of back here on my eye, and I'm just dragging it forward just to kind of make it look more blended and seamless. So what I'm doing now is I'm just kind of deepening those colors, just tapping into that purple and tapping into the orange so that it's nice and bright. And I'm going to pull the orange actually a little bit past the mid of my eyelid, just so it doesn't look like it's purple and green, so it looks a little bit more blended. But the last thing I'm going to do on my eyelid, so that it brings a little bit of Dia de los Muertos to my eyes, is I'm going to place yellow right in the center. Just kind of bringing all of these colors together. I'm tapping into the color King's Landing right in here and just tapping that right into the center. Kind of ties in the whole look, kind of makes it look more intentional versus just like a split between purple and orange. Kind of gives it like that color scheme that we have going on with the ears as well. And I think just overall looks super, super pretty. Lastly, I'm just blending out that black just a little bit more. I added a little bit of brown to it so that it's not as dark and sharp, just to kind of make it blend and look pretty. I'm taking a very clean brush, nothing on it, and I'm going to just blend the top of all three of those colors. Alright, what I did off camera was I cleaned up underneath my eye because there was a ton of fallout, and I'm just trying to clean up some of the darkness that I have in my eye, so I'm placing the orange a little bit higher up on my eye than I originally anticipated. That's going all the way up, and then I'm meeting it up with the purple. The yellow is going to stay right in the center of my eye. I just didn't like how that dark halo kind of was on top. It just didn't look good, and it started to mix in with the orange and purple and just looked a little bit weird. So we're just trying to bring the orange up a little bit higher, make it a little bit brighter on the inner corner of the eye. We're still using the same colors and the same products. I'm just kind of layering it so that it looks really bright. I am now going to move on to prepping my face for foundation. So I'm going to finish wiping off all of that excess color that kind of fell onto my eyes and just wiping down my entire face. Using my Better Than Sex eyeliner, I'm going to just create a wing. It's going to be a mix of small and dramatic at the same time. So I'm going to take it out all the way onto the side of my eye, and then I'm going to line it up. I literally forgot to put on eyeliner before I started prepping my face, so I went ahead and did that. Now with the corner of my nail just kind of wrapped around, or a makeup wipe wrapped around the corner of my nail, I'm going to clean up that wing. Making sure it's nice and straight, making sure there's no makeup underneath it. I'm just kind of wiping away all of that excess product. And I'm doing that nice and slowly because I don't want to overdo it, and I want to get every single bit of that product off from underneath that eyeliner to make it nice and pretty and sharp. I feel like every look kind of comes together and looks better when you put mascara and eyeliner on, so we are going to work with this and we're going to move on to our face. So starting off, I'm going to use the No Pore Blem Primer Water. And I got this in an Ipsy bag, but essentially I kind of want to add just a couple of drops to my face. And I'm going to just kind of blend that into my face. This adds moisture back into my skin. It kind of diminishes the size of my pores a little bit. And it just makes my makeup look super pretty on top of it. Moving on, I'm going to use one of my favorite current primers. It's the Pretty Fresh primer that has hyaluronic acid in it. I'm going to place a couple pumps of that into my hand. Mix it up in my fingers just to kind of warm up the product. And then I'm going to use small circular motions to kind of put it all over my face. This time of year my skin is pretty dry, so I like to use all of the moisturizing things on my face. It just like makes my face look super flawless and clean when I'm applying makeup on top of it. We're gonna let that sit for a couple minutes and work on our eyebrows. Using the Benefit Brow Pencil in the darkest shade, I think it's shade number 6.5. Nope, it's shade number 6. I'm just going to draw a line following my current eyebrow on the top and on the bottom. And then I'm going to just brush up with my pencil and brush my hairs into place exactly where I want them. And then at the tip of my eyebrow, I'm just going to do small brush strokes going upwards. And I'm going to brush that out as well, just to make those little strokes look as natural as possible. And then I use the Maybelline Tattoo Studio Brow Gel, and I brush those little hairs into place. I love this gel because it is the same color as my eyebrow hair, and it does keep my eyebrows in place. But what I love about the fact that it's the same color as my eyebrows, it makes my eyebrows hairs look a little bit thicker than usual, and just kind of fills in the areas of my eyebrow where I'm missing hair. So it is perfect. And I'm doing this super lightly. It almost feels like I'm not touching my eyebrows at all. I'm just kind of brushing through it without touching it to my skin. And so I'm brushing up very slowly, just very barely catching those hairs. And that's it, we let those dry. Using my Becca Under Eye Corrector, which I've used multiple times on this channel, I am going to place this with a brush underneath my eyes. This stuff really helps my eyes not look as dark when I'm putting concealer on, because when I use concealer under my eye, no matter how much coverage it gives you, I haven't found a concealer that actually truly covers my under eye circles yet without making them too white or too bright. So if I go lighter, it'll be super bright and way too bright. So I love this stuff. And I place this on under my eyes before I use concealer or before I use foundation. So this is the absolute first thing I do before I start putting any product onto my face. And you can see it's starting to brighten and lighten up that area, but most of all, it takes away that really dark look underneath my eyes. So I brush it underneath and then I start tapping it down with my finger. I bring it down a little bit lower than my under eye circles, that way it's nice and like hidden. So it's not just like brightness underneath my eye and then it kind of shows in anyway. So I bring it down a little bit further than that. I love this product because it's a little bit tacky, like it has a little bit of grip to it. So when I'm putting on my foundation or concealer, it doesn't look super cakey, it just kind of grabs onto that foundation and concealer. Moving on, I am going to use the Clinique Even Better Refresh Foundation that I currently just purchased. And I'm going to place that on my skin. This is probably the foundation that I've gotten the closest color match. But I'm going to take my beauty blender and I am tapping that into my skin. It may look like I'm kind of hitting my skin really hard, but I'm not. I'm just tapping that in, bringing it all the way down my neck. And I love this foundation, but I also love this blender with the foundation. Like, it makes it look like it's actually my skin. You'll notice that if you look at my skin compared to my neck, it is such a close match. And this is probably the only foundation that I have like the perfect match to, which is kind of weird. But look at how well it's kind of like covering like all the little blemishes on my face and stuff. This birthmark, it didn't really cover all too well, but I don't mind that. Other than that, like under my eyes, it looks all one color pretty much. So I kind of like that it looks very natural, and it does look like it's covering quite a bit, like the redness in my face and stuff like that. I'm being very careful not to get into my eyebrows, so I'm going to take the pointed side of my blender and I'm going to wipe that downwards. I'm also going to take that foundation with the tip of my beauty blender and I'm going to press it underneath my eye. I'm going to use this foundation to clean up inside of my eye. This is pretty tricky because, as you can see, like I could take it in a little bit too far unintentionally. A blender just doesn't get in like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my brush with that orange shade and kind of fix it up just a little bit. I didn't add more product to that. I just kind of took it and swirled it around until it looked nice and even. Putting on foundation and like working on the face actually makes the eyes look a lot better. I thought it was a shipwreck, to be honest with you, but it's starting to kind of come together now that I have a face of makeup on. Moving on, I am going back to the basics and I'm going to use the Tarte Shape Tape Concealers. I love these concealers. They are super pigmented. They are really high coverage and I just like love everything about them. They blend out so beautifully. So I'm using two different shades, one to lighten up my under eyes and different spots in my face, and one to kind of darken or conceal certain areas in my face. So I use a darker shade right about at the side of my lips and then a little bit under my eye, but I used a brightening one under my eye as well. And very slowly, I'm going to start tapping that in and bringing it out towards the side of my face. A lot of people who do their makeup finish up one eye and then move on to the next, but I feel like I kind of get bored almost working on just one part of my face. So you'll see me move around my face and back to certain areas of my face a lot of times, and that's just kind of what I do. So naturally I want the inner portion of my face, so my T-zone, to be nice and bright, and then I'm going to use contour next. Yeah, definitely as I'm working on my face a little bit more, I'm starting to like the eye look a little bit better. It looks very dramatic, but like it looks like it fits. Alright, now that I have that kind of all in place, I'm just going to, with the bottom of my blender, I'm just going to tap in that original foundation color just a little bit more and make sure everything is nice and smooth, because I am going to go ahead and set just under my eye. So using the Kylie Cosmetics pink powder, I'm going to place a little bit onto my blender and I'm just going to tap that underneath my eyelid. I'm not taking it all over my face, just kind of right down the middle of my face, right underneath my eyes, right into my smile lines, and then right in my chin. If I do not set my chin, a line kind of appears as I'm wearing makeup longer and longer throughout the day. So I like to set that area. And then just like when I am putting on mascara, I tend to make weird faces when I am setting my face, just because I'm trying to stretch out underneath my eye so that I get a nice smooth surface, and so that's what the weird faces are for. I'm moving on to the Too Faced Bronzed Peach. And this is currently one of my favorite bronzers. It is actually falling out of the packaging, that's how much I use it. But essentially when I don't want to do like a full contour and set that contour, I use this and a little bit of powder. So I'm going to take that on my brush, my adorable brush, and I'm just going to tap that into the side of my face. All of those places that you would originally put your contour, just that we are not doing like very defined contour. So right above my forehead and then right on the side of my cheek. And I am not wiping this up and down my face. I tend to see that that kind of takes off the foundation and concealer when you do that. So I like to kind of just tap this, even though I know it is a brush, and just, if I am gonna swipe, I'm gonna swipe in very small baby motions, because I want to place it on, but I don't want to take off any of the makeup that I currently have on there. Underneath the chin, we can go ahead and wipe away all of the double chins that we have. So it doesn't matter underneath there because I didn't put like very strict foundation under there. So that's why you're seeing me do that. So again, right up here in the corner, and kind of blend upwards. This is basically like the foundation of my contour because I'm going to be going in with the Kylie bronzer in the shade Toasty. And with that same brush, I'm going to go ahead and tap into that and place that right above the bronzer that I just placed. And because I'm setting it, I am going to do a little bit of wiping motions, but I'm not like pressing it into my face. I'm kind of just tapping it in and then swiping it very, very lightly. Have I mentioned how cute this brush is? It is from Sugar Rush, and I'm in love with it. Moving on, I'm taking a smaller brush, and I'm going to dip back into that Toasty shade, and I'm going to put it on the side of my nose. I'm going to contour the sides using Toasty. I like that it has like a little bit of an ash kind of tone to it. It's still brown, but it's a cool tone brown because it just kind of looks like a shadow, like a natural shadow on the side of your nose and your face. It doesn't look like a bright red kind of bronze look. It looks more like a natural bronze. Now that I am bronzed up, I'm going to wipe away this powder that I have on my face. I personally feel like I left it on a little bit too long. And now that all of that is wiped away, I'm going to work on the bottom lid itself. I'm going to take a flat brush. I am going to dig into each of those shades, so the orange and the purple. And essentially, I'm going to line my lower lash. And then digging into the purple shade, I'm going to take it on the other side. Before I continue on with my eyes, I am going to use the Too Faced Lip Injection lip gloss. I like to put this on, let it do its work, and then take it off right before I put on lipstick. Just because I love bigger lips. Moving on, we are going to use the Urban Decay 24/7 liner in the shade Viper. It is a glittery purple shade, and I just thought it would be super perfect for this look. Moving on to blush. I'm using the Tarte blush in the shade Quirky. It has a nice pink orangey kind of shade. Because we did a nice bold eye look, I wanted to do a nice bold blush look as well. So I'm taking it all the way to the back of my face, then right through my chin, and right above my eyebrow. Lastly, I'm going to go ahead and use my blender to blend everything in. I'm not adding any product to this blender. I'm just making sure everything looks nice and smooth so that I can go ahead and spray my face. First, I'm going to use the MAC Fix Plus in the scent Coconut. I always have to go and find Fanny. Like, I have to physically go find her. Alright, and then next I am going to use the Iconic London Prep Set and Glow. And I'm using both because essentially I wanted the MAC Fix Plus to kind of melt down the powders that I had on my face and make it look like skin. But now I'm looking for like a glowy set to my skin itself, so I'm going to use both. I literally love how this smells. Like, it almost smells like flowers or lavender and like freshness at the same time. It just smells really, really good. I'm going to do the final touches on my face. I am going to add an inner corner highlight. So I'm using King's Landing right here. Then I'm going to add that to the inner corner of my eye. I think particularly for this look, using an inner corner highlight just looks amazing. And then I'm going to use the Prisma Glow palette, my go-to highlighting palette. And I'm going to use the Skin Gloss right in here. And I'm going to just tap that and then kind of press it into my skin. This makes the highlight look a little bit more glassy than it does like shimmer on the face. And so like I look glowy instead of just like a sharp line of glitter on my face. I just really love this look. Using my BFF mascara, I'm going to go ahead and mascara up my lids. Using my MAC mascara because it is a thinner wand, I'm going to do my lower lashes. Friends, we are almost done. I'm going to wipe off this lip injection gloss. And I'm going to add the color Frickin' Frack onto my lips. I'm just going to, with my blender, make sure nothing is kind of protruding off of my face or sticking out or unblended, and just make sure everything is as perfect as I want it. This is my final look, my Dia de los Muertos inspired look. Basically, these ears inspired the entire thing. It was rough getting to this final look, but I think the look came together. I feel like the vibes are there and they are super pretty. What do you guys think? If you like this look and you want to see more looks like it, continue following me and subscribe to my channel. If there are any looks that you guys would like me to do moving forward, let me know down below in the comments. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate you spending the time to watch this video and hang out with me. I love you so, so much. Bye.